So, one of the draws of homesteading is somewhat of a phrase or a wordage that I have found to be like a myth. So, the phrase is, and I'm going to call it out for what I've learned, it's not really true, and that is being self sufficient. So, going into homesteading on purpose, like going all in my mind, was moving out into the woods on our own land, raising our kids and raising as much stuff as possible. We were going to be as self sufficient as possible. And who knows? So, some folks go into homesteading feeling like it is the way they want to live, that it is a lifestyle, which it is. I agree. Sometimes those same folks and other folks will go into homesteading as if it is like a ride or die, or like the world is going to end. Chicken Little. Is it Chicken Little? I think it's Chicken Little. The sky's falling. One of those. That thing. So I've learned over the 20 years or whatever that homesteading is a lifestyle. I do agree with that. I do agree that it is a frame of mind in how you think about your living. So I don't necessarily think you have to have, 500 acres and a certain amount of animals or a certain garden size or farm or any of that kind of thing. I do think homesteading is more of a frame of mind and what you do with where you are and what you can do. And the one thing about homesteading that I think gets a bad rap is folks throwing around the phrase of being self sufficient. And I think it's a myth because I've lived it. So, to be self sufficient, I get the definition. Okay. The definition is to be able to take care of oneself or itself without outside help. I get that, self sufficient on tying your shoe. You don't need someone else to tie your shoe or to cook your dinner. You can cook your own dinner. However, with the phrase of self sufficient or self sufficiency within the homesteading world, I think it's a smokescreen because you'll never be what so many people want to do is be the everything. They want to produce everything, they want to grow everything, and I get it. I understand. Like, you want to know what's in your food, you want to know what is in your dinner, and you're feeding your children, and what your clothing has in it, and what animals you're raising. And you're taking those choices and you're making them very meaningful to you. And I just want to challenge the whole self sufficient mantra almost, is that we're never going to be self sufficient in our lives. I mean, we're a community based creature. We were created for each other. So, I mean, go back to the Garden of Eden. It wasn't just one man, there were more people that needed to be created. We were not meant to be by ourselves in our community. And in a homestead, you're not created and you're not meant to make or create or grow or only consume what you can do, because then you're kind of missing the point. The whole point is to be able to be dependable. The whole point is to be able to be skillful and to know how to do things. You don't have to be an expert in everything. You don't have to grow everything or, raise all of the animals if you consume animals or use animals on your homestead for weed control or any of it. You don't have to be able to do them all. And honestly, if you try to do everything, you're going to resent it and you're going to not want to do any of it. I will tell you that from my own personal experience. Because I've had these moments over time where if I couldn't do everything, then I couldn't do anything. And It was so overwhelming to think that nothing was gonna be good enough and that I needed to learn how to do everything perfectly. Honestly, that's what I thought. I needed to learn how to do everything perfectly or else it kinda was a failure for me. But, just looking back on all this time, I was missing the point. The point was to live in that lifestyle. The point was to learn how to do new things. The point was to involve the kids and the family and the community, not to isolate. So many times, homesteaders in general, especially, I wasn't living a double life, but I wasn't living a life that most people in that livelihood lived. And I think it's been kind of good in our culture and our society lately over the past few years, especially since 2020, that folks are like waking up to what really matters. And I think that is very important. I love that. I absolutely love it. But I think also folks that went into that mindset of getting their own land or whether it be a good bit of land or a little bit of land, whatever it is to you in your mind, however much is a lot and a little, or you went nowhere at all and you just wanted to start living the lifestyle where you are. And that is where I'm like, full on, do what you can where you are. We will never be self sufficient because we were never meant to be self sufficient. I mean, it's just so funny to me to think back on myself. I don't really pity. I kind of maybe give a little grace for myself for thinking that I needed to learn how to do everything or else I was a failure at homesteading in general. Um, it's like, raising your own children, you don't know how to do it before you do it. And even when you're in the middle of it, you don't even know if you're doing the right thing. And so you really are like, everything is hindsight. You just try. You don't give up. You do the best you can, just like, your spouse will or your neighbor will. You just do the best you can where you are with what you have. And you keep learning and you keep the homesteading lifestyle mindset. You try to be like we have one daughter, I swear, she would have a master's degree in figure outing. She just figures stuff out. Like if something's messed up, she's so patient and she will just figure it out. Like give her time, let her tinker with it, let her play around, you know, let her, I mean, oh my gosh, this was just yesterday. So our refrigerator not cooling in the house. The freezer's working, refrigerator not so much. It's just too warm to be a refrigerator. She comes into the bedroom where I'm at and she holds up this huge piece. Honestly, I don't even know what it was, but it is something having to do with the refrigerator. She holds up this huge piece and she's like, I think this is what is bad. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're showing me. But she's like, okay, the air goes in here, and then I'm pretty sure it cools it here. And anytime I plug it up, I think it's supposed to cool the air, and it's not cooling the air, like because of X, Y, and Z, explanation. That's what she does. She just sees things and figures them out. So she's not intimidated by not knowing how to do something. She will just try to figure it out. Does that mean she figures it all out? No, of course not. None of us do. But she also looks, on YouTube and looks up, manuals and diagrams or concepts, and she'll take information from other people and she will try to figure something out on her own based on their experience and what they've shown her. And she doesn't need anyone to kind of tell her. She just does it. She just figures it out. And sometimes you figure things out and it works. And other times you figure things out and it might be done. Like, you know what? It's not worth that fix in order to fix it. And other times in your journey, things are worth fixing. And that's why quality comes in handy, um, to be able to be worth fixing for sure. But, the whole concept of self sufficiency, I get the idea to a certain extent. But sometimes homesteaders have in their mind they're going to be self sufficient on everything. They're only going to eat what they grow. They are only going to, cook what comes off their farm or their garden or whatever. But when I was approaching homesteading, I had a very narrow frame of mind and I was missing the wide angle lens. And that was community, that was learning, that was skills. Now, I do think it's not a bad idea to be independent, not being dependent on someone else. I get that concept too. And another word for that would be freedom. Like they want to be able to grow their own food or raise their own animals or, create their own crafts or, just the freedom to homeschool their children. Everyone has their values and their ethics and they want to pass that on. And freedom is really kind of the cornerstone of that. And I think the phrase of being self sufficient is really just a myth to me that at the basic level, it's fine. On the grand scheme of things, not so much. Yes, learn how to make your own bread. Great. But does that mean that you're going to grow all of the grain too? No, not necessarily. Does that mean that, if you want to feed your animals a certain amount of protein or whatever, micronutrients are, that you have to go and I've done this too. We had goats before, and the name of our goat was Sugar, and she was a shoot, what kind of goat was she? She was a Saanen. Sorry, I knew I could see it, but I couldn't say it. She was a Saanen goat. That was our first dairy goat we got, I believe, and her name was Sugar. And we got her from a farm. Don't even remember where it was, but they had a large family. And when we went to go get Sugar, they were so kind. They were homesteaders too, but they ran their goat operation pretty large. I don't know if they sold milk or if it was just for their family's consumption and what they used it for to make products or whatnot. But they had a large family as well, which was not normal, at least not in that time frame, to have a large family. Usually, if you fit in a sedan, you were not a large family. So if you had 4 kids or more, you were basically a large family in our culture for some reason. Once you get out of that sedan and you can't fit in that no more, you're next level, I guess. But well, we couldn't even fit in the Suburban because we had 7 kids because we were considered abnormal, which we're fine with. But so this family that we were getting Sugar, the son and goat, they had a large family as well. They had several children, more than 4. And it was like we were family just because of our large family. We were like their family. We had dinner with them. They were making food and they knew we were coming. And I don't think we anticipated this at all. But, we had a little bit of a drive. So, to get home with a new goat and that sort of thing, that was going to be a bit of a time sink. So we ate dinner with this family. We didn't know them at all. We ate dinner with them. And our kids were around each other and hung out and ran around in the goat field. And I just remember it being so welcoming because they were okay, living their lifestyle, and they didn't have everything. I don't even remember them having, um, a garden. I'm sure they did, but I don't remember them having one. But the whole point of it was they didn't necessarily think of us as strangers. They thought of us as family. And that's where some of this homesteading, being self-sufficient, bring in your neighbors, bring in your community, share what you have. Think of this as a lifestyle, which I know gets its own kind of catchphrase, and I don't love catchphrases, but it's really just a frame of mind. Think of it as a way to learn to be independent, able to live out your freedom in a way that you can share with your community. And if you don't have one, create one, be one, you know. I always said that, and I still say it, that our family is so big that we're like an instant party. Maybe you have your own instant party, but that would be my one thing in the homesteading world. If anyone's been thinking about homesteading, it is not about being self sufficient. It is not about being isolated. It is not about doing everything all the time for yourself because the sky is going to fall. Um, do what you can where you are with what you have and include other people in it. Include the community, create the community. That's where it's really at. It really becomes a lifestyle and you'll want to learn more things. Doesn't mean you'll do those things all the time. You might learn something and learn you don't like doing it. And that's fine. That's part of it. Um, there's some things that, I've learned how to do and I keep going with it. And other things, I'm like, I know how to do that. But nah, I don't think I want to do that one. I think I like this other stuff better. And that's part of it because someone else will like what you don't like. And that's part of the good about the community is you have your strengths and other people have theirs. And sometimes our weaknesses are someone else's strengths. So I'll just leave it at that I'm not hook, line, and sinker into this whole phrase of self-sufficiency. I definitely think it is a lifestyle, and I definitely think anyone can and should do it where they are. Again, where they are with what they have and go from there. So don't worry about being self-sufficient. The sky's not going to fall, and we're all going to be fine. So here's the homesteading. Try it out in case you haven't. See you next time.